What if the most trusted chocolate in Britain was quietly the most dangerous one on the shelf? Not dangerous in the way that makes headlines. Not a recall. Not a scandal with cameras outside a factory. Dangerous in the way that nobody notices. Slow, silent, accumulating over years while you reach for the same purple wrapper you have been reaching for your entire life. This is the story of Cadbury Dairy Milk, and I need you to hear it properly. Because this is not an attack on a chocolate bar. This is an explanation of how one of the greatest acts of corporate betrayal in British food history happened in plain sight, while millions of people kept buying the product out of pure love and memory and habit. Let us go back to the beginning. Cadbury was founded in Birmingham in 1824 by John Cadbury, a Quaker who believed that the way you made something said something about who you were. For nearly 200 years the company operated on that principle. The chocolate was genuinely made with care. The people who made it lived in the same communities as the people who bought it. The trust between the brand and the British public was not manufactured by a marketing department. It was built brick by brick over generations of actually delivering what the wrapper promised. Your grandparents trusted Cadbury. Your parents trusted Cadbury. You trusted Cadbury. And you probably hand it to your grandchildren today without a single moment of hesitation, because the purple wrapper has always meant that something inside is safe, familiar, and exactly what it says it is. That trust is what makes what happened next so important to understand. In 2010, American food corporation Kraft Foods launched a hostile takeover bid for Cadbury. The British public protested loudly. Factory workers marched. Members of Parliament demanded intervention. Former Prime Minister Gordon Brown called it a matter of national concern. Kraft had identified something valuable and they intended to acquire it. Not the factories, not the recipes. The trust, the 200 years of emotional equity built up in that purple wrapper. That was the asset they were paying £11.5 billion for, and once they had it, they began extracting value from it immediately. Within 12 months of the takeover, the recipe changed. Cadbury denied it publicly and categorically, but the evidence was everywhere. Food journalists reported it, independent taste tests confirmed it, and most powerfully, millions of ordinary British people who had eaten dairy milk their entire lives tasted it immediately without being told to look for anything. The texture was different. Grainier. The way it melted in the mouth felt wrong, waxier, less rich. The deep cocoa taste that had been there since childhood was noticeably diminished. People were not imagining it. Internal documents later obtained by investigative journalists confirmed what everyone had already tasted. Cheaper ingredients had been quietly substituted into the recipe, while every element of the branding, the purple wrapper, the glass and a half, the promise of something genuinely British and genuinely good, remained perfectly preserved. This is the mechanism of the betrayal. They did not change the thing you saw. They changed the thing you ate. Now let us talk about what is actually in a modern Cadbury Dairy Milk bar, because this is where the story moves from disappointing to genuinely concerning for your health. Pick up a bar and read the ingredient list. The first ingredient is sugar, not cocoa, not milk. Sugar. In a product called dairy milk, sugar appears before any dairy and before any milk. The cocoa content is so low in modern Cadbury Dairy Milk that this bar contains less actual chocolate than many instant hot chocolate powders you would make at home. What you are eating is not chocolate with sugar added for sweetness. It is sugar with a chocolate flavoring. It is a cost-optimized industrial product that has been engineered to taste approximately like the memory of the original while costing significantly less to produce. For anyone over 50, this is not a minor concern about ingredient quality. It is a direct health issue. That sugar load hits your bloodstream fast. It forces an insulin response. And as we age, that insulin response becomes progressively less efficient. For anyone managing type 2 diabetes or pre-diabetes, a standard 45-gram dairy milk bar delivers 26 grams of sugar. The British Heart Foundation's recommended daily maximum for a healthy adult is 30 grams. One bar takes you to 87% of your entire day's safe sugar limit before you have eaten a single meal. For anyone on medication that affects blood glucose, that single bar can destabilize your levels for the next 4 to 6 hours, requiring adjustments and placing additional strain on a system that is already working harder than it did at 30. But the sugar is not even the deepest layer of concern. In 2023, Consumer Reports, one of the most respected independent testing organizations in the world, conducted laboratory analysis, specifically testing popular chocolate brands for heavy metals. Cadbury products tested positive for both lead and cadmium. Cadbury's official response was that their products meet all current regulatory standards. And that is technically accurate. But here is the question that the response is designed to prevent you from asking. Those regulatory standards were written in the 1980s, before scientists fully understood bioaccumulation, before decades of research into how heavy metals behave differently in an aging body compared to a young one. The standards were set for occasional consumption by a general adult population. They were not designed with someone in mind who eats chocolate every single day, which a 2022 survey found is the pattern for the majority of British adults over 50. Lead does not flush out of your body between bars. It accumulates, it builds up in bone tissue and in blood over years and over decades. A landmark 2022 study from Columbia University found that lifetime lead accumulation is directly and significantly linked to rising blood pressure, increased risk of cardiovascular disease, and accelerating cognitive decline in adults over 60. Every exposure adds to a total that your body has been keeping since the first time you ever encountered lead in any form. And that total has consequences that compound as you age. Cadmium is more specific in the damage it causes. It targets the kidneys. And here is the biological reality that your doctor is unlikely to connect to your chocolate habit. After the age of 50, you naturally lose roughly 1% of kidney function every single year. That is not disease. That is normal aging. But cadmium accelerates that loss. It places additional stress on organs that are already declining through the simple passage of time. If you are over 60 and you have been eating dairy milk regularly for decades, you have been adding cadmium pressure to kidneys that have less capacity to handle it with every passing year. Your GP is reviewing your kidney function results and thinking about your medication, your hydration, your blood pressure. They are not thinking about the purple wrapper in your kitchen cupboard, but the relationship is there whether anyone is looking for it or not. And underneath all of this sits the most quietly corrosive damage of all. The emotional one. The reason Cadbury dairy milk is more dangerous than a generic sugar product you have never heard of is precisely because of the trust. Because you are not evaluating it every time you buy it. You are not reading the label. You are not questioning whether it is worth it. You reach for it automatically because it has always been there and it has always been fine, and the purple wrapper means something to you that goes back further than you can easily trace. That automatic trust, built over 200 years by a company that genuinely earned it, is now being used by a corporation that bought the trust without buying what created it. Kraft Foods acquired the emotional equity. They did not acquire the values. The purple wrapper is still there. The glass and a half is still there. The television adverts still speak the language of British childhood and family and comfort and celebration. But the company that built all of those associations in the first place ceased to exist in 2010. What replaced it is a publicly traded multinational whose obligation is to its shareholders, not to the generations of British families who made the brand what it was. The recipe will continue to be optimized for margin. The ingredients will continue to be evaluated for cost. And the purple wrapper will continue to do the job it was always so good at, making you feel that what is inside is worth trusting without ever giving you a reason to check. Here is what I want you to take from this. You are not obligated to keep trusting a brand that stopped deserving that trust 15 years ago. Reading the ingredient list on something you have bought 1,000 times is not being difficult. It is being honest with yourself about what you are actually eating. The Cadbury your parents knew and the Cadbury on the shelf today share a wrapper and a name and nothing else of substance. If you want the taste of real chocolate, not sugar flavored with chocolate, look at what the ingredient list actually says. Look at where the cocoa comes from. Look at whether the cocoa percentage is something the brand is proud to display prominently or something buried in small print near the allergen information. Real chocolate leads with cocoa. It does not hide it. The memory of Cadbury dairy milk is worth keeping. The product on the shelf today is not worth the damage it is quietly doing. They kept the wrapper. They kept the nostalgia. They swapped out everything that made either of those things mean something.